Well, let's get more on this with Aaron David Miller. He's a Middle East analyst and senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. It's good to have you with us here on DW News. Now, the ICJ says some of South Africa's accusations are plausible, but it did fall short of insisting that Israel should implement a ceasefire. What do you make of the ruling?
Look, you have two Israeli-Palestinian conflicts. You have the one that's going on the ground between Israel and Hamas, which shows no signs of abating. And the other one is occurring outside of historic Palestine, where in diplomatic corridors, at the UN, in the media, and sometimes they intersect, these two conflicts, sometimes they don't. I think that the impact of this ruling is unlikely to have any practical impact, since you need a Security Council resolution in order to adopt or enforce, the provisional measures that the ICJ has recommended. And there's no way that's going to happen because the administration, the Biden administration, and I would agree with their assessment, thinks the charge of genocide is unfounded. I think it's a rebuke to Israel. I think the fact that the Israelis took it seriously means they did, in fact, take it seriously. But look, it's the utmost hypocrisy for South Africa, a country that is endorsing and supporting what I think actually is a genocide, and that is Vladimir Putin's aggression, not just against the Ukrainian people, but an effort to extinguish the state of Ukraine. Okay. That's genocidal intent.
Now, the court did rule that Israel should do more to prevent and punish public incitement to genocide. How is Israel meant to comply with these obligations to prevent a genocide in Gaza?
Look, you have the most extreme right-wing government in the history of the state of Israel. Two ministers are Jewish supremacists, and a prime minister who needs to maintain this coalition. So unless there's self-censorship on some of these terrible statements that have been made by Israeli ministers, I doubt whether the prime minister of Israel is going to do much, if anything at all, to discipline or suppress these statements by members of his own coalition. His political survival and even his freedom. He's on trial for bribery, fraud, and breach of trust in the Jerusalem District Court. He's due to testify next month. I just think he'll keep on keeping on.
And what impact do you think this will have on the backers of Israel, such as the United States? You've mentioned that a little bit, Germany, the United Kingdom and France. How do you see the relationship panning out between Netanyahu and these countries?
I mean, again, I think that for the Biden administration, there's an expectation that the Israeli ground campaign, which has led to an exponential rise in Palestinian deaths in an effort to eradicate Hamas as an organization, which embeds its assets in and around and under civilian populations. I think that the administration expects a tangible, concrete change in Israeli tactics in early February. I don't think the ICJ, certainly for the United States, I can't speak for the Brits or the French, whether that'll have any impact at all. It will, I suspect, add to the growing pressure on the Israeli government, driven by high casualties, by pressures from the families of those who remain hostage at the hands of Hamas to bring them home. I think it will have, it'll add to what I think, to where we're going, which I think is in fact a significant diminishment of Israeli military activity. What follows, whether or not Gaza will be more stable, whether or not the long-suffering people of Gaza will get the humanitarian and reconstruction assistance that they deserve, is another matter. But as I mentioned before, you have the real Israeli-Palestinian conflict on the ground, and then you have the diplomatic, political one that's taking place in capitals in New York and in The Hague. And sometimes they intersect. I'm not so sure that they intersect on this occasion, but they may.